For millions of people, the day ends with the same digital ritual. Whether it is a late shift in London, a crowded night out in New York, or a rainy commute in Manila, the process is always the same. You stand on a dark corner. You open the app, Uber, Lyft, or Grab. You request a ride, and then you surrender control. We have trained ourselves to trust the system. We trust the map. We trust the little digital icon moving across the screen. We trust that the stranger pulling up in 2 tons of metal is just a person doing a job. It is a habit so automatic it feels perfectly safe. We rely on the technology so much that we stop looking at the reality. We stop asking the question, who is actually behind the wheel? For Sarah, standing on a rain-slick curb at 2:14 a.m., the notification was just part of that routine. Your ride is here. The battery on her phone was dipping below 10%, turning the status bar red. The wind was cutting through her coat, making the wait feel endless. When the headlights finally swept across the pavement, relief washed over her. It was a silver sedan. It matched the description in the app perfectly. The license plate was partially obscured by mud and road grime, but the first 3 letters matched. It was close enough. It was the end of a long week, and the only thing she wanted was the warmth of the heater and the safety of her apartment. She opened the back door and slid inside. The heavy doors sealed shut with a solid, high-quality thud, cutting off the sound of the wind and the distant traffic. The air in the cabin was warmer than the street, but the smell was unexpected. It didn't smell like a taxi or old cigarettes or fast food. It smelled faintly of lemon air freshener, barely masking something sharper underneath, like industrial antiseptic, like fresh bleach. The driver didn't turn around. He was a silhouette against the streetlights, his shoulders broad and still. He simply nodded when she said her name, a silent confirmation. She settled back into the leather seat, closing her eyes for a moment as the car pulled away from the curb. For the first few minutes, the rhythm of the drive felt hypnotic. The tires hummed over the wet asphalt. Streetlights passed over the interior in rhythmic orange bands. It was the perfect domestic tableau of a late-night commute. Sarah scrolled through her social media, letting the blue light of her phone illuminate her face, completely disconnected from the world outside the windows. But slowly, the silence in the car began to shift. It stopped feeling peaceful and started feeling pressurized. Usually, there's the low hum of a radio or the robotic voice of a GPS giving turn-by-turn directions. Turn left in 500 feet. But here it was dead quiet. The driver hadn't shifted in his seat. He hadn't checked his mirrors. He was staring straight ahead with a rigid, unnatural focus. She looked forward past the partition to the dashboard. In every rideshare, the phone is the heart of the car. It is mounted high and visible, glowing with the route, the estimated arrival time, the driver's profile photo. It is the proof that the ride is tracked, monitored, and safe. But this driver's phone mount was empty. The plastic grip was bare. The infotainment screen built into the center console was completely black. There was no blue line guiding them, no timer counting down the minutes. He was navigating a complex route through the city labyrinth without looking at a single direction. He wasn't following a map. He wasn't following a GPS. He was following a memory. Sarah sat up straighter, the leather creaking beneath her. She glanced out the window. They should have been turning onto the main avenue by now, a road well-lit and lined with 24-hour convenience stores. Instead, the car was drifting into the industrial district. The warehouses here were dark. The streetlights were broken, leaving long stretches of road in total blackness. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the soundproofing of the car. "I think the GPS usually takes the avenue. It's faster." The driver didn't answer. He didn't even tilt his head. The car didn't slow down. If anything, the engine hummed slightly louder as he accelerated through a yellow light that was turning red. "Hello," she said louder this time. "I think you missed a turn." Still silence. Just the sound of tires on wet pavement and her own heart hammering against her ribs. The knot in her stomach tightened into a hard stone. She pulled out her own phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she tried to unlock the screen. She needed to see the ride progress. She needed to see the reassuring little car icon moving along the line to her house. She opened the app. The map loaded, bright and cheerful. But the little car icon wasn't on the industrial road with her. It wasn't moving at 40 miles per hour. The icon was frozen. It was sitting perfectly still at the pickup spot, 5 blocks behind them. She stared at the screen, her mind refusing to process the data. The app said the ride hadn't started yet. The app said she was still waiting on the curb. Then, a new text message appeared at the top of her screen, sliding down like a verdict. Your driver is waiting. Please come outside. I can't see you. The blood drained from her face, leaving her cold. The phone in her hand felt like a brick. If her driver was waiting back at the curb, then who was driving this car? She looked up at the rearview mirror. The driver's eyes were already waiting for her in the reflection. He wasn't watching the dark road ahead. He wasn't watching the mirrors. He was watching her. He had been watching her the entire time, waiting for this exact moment of realization. You're not him, she whispered. Pierre left the car. He didn't speak. He simply reached out a gloved hand and pressed a single button on the door panel. The sound was deafeningly loud in the quiet cabin, the heavy mechanical clunk-clunk of the child locks engaging on the rear doors. She grabbed the handle and pulled, but it pulled uselessly against the mechanism. Locked. Suddenly, the black screen on the dashboard, the one she thought was broken, flickered to life. It wasn't a navigation map. It wasn't a radio interface. It was a video feed. The image was grainy, high-contrast black and white, shot from a camera hidden somewhere in the upholstery. But it wasn't showing the inside of the car. It was a recording. It showed the street corner she had just left. It showed the rain falling on the pavement. And it showed her. It showed Sarah standing under the awning, checking her watch. It showed her shivering in the wind. The timestamp in the corner of the video wasn't from right now. It was from 20 minutes ago. The camera hadn't started recording when she got in. This car had been parked across the street, hidden in the shadows for half an hour. He had been watching her wait. He had been studying her behavior. He had timed it perfectly, pulling up exactly when the app said the real driver was 1 minute away, knowing she wouldn't check the plate, knowing she would just get in. The video on the screen looped. It showed her opening the door. It showed her stepping into the trap. The car accelerated, the engine roaring as they hit the on-ramp to the highway, heading away from the city, away from the lights, away from anyone who could hear her scream. The turn signal didn't click. The destination had never been home.